Hey, what's going on, everyone? So in this section, we're going to be talking all about the second interview of the sales interview process. So interview number 2, right? So in the first interview, you did the screen and they invited you to the second interview where you're going to meet the rest of the team and it's going to be more in depth. So usually either you're going to go into the office in person if if it's one of those companies, or you might be able to do it remotely depending on the position of the company, the structure of the company and how they operate, right? So it could be over the phone or over Zoom or in person. Now, typically in the second interview, you're going to be interviewing with multiple people on the team to see if you're a good fit, right? So it's not always like you just interview with one person. It depends on the size of the company, right? If it's a small, medium business, you might just meet the founder of the company and then that's it. But if you're working at, let's say a well-funded startup with like 50 employees, you might have to meet a few sales reps, sales manager, sales director, and the founder. So, it really just depends on the actual company and they will tell you ahead of time what to prepare for. Now, like I said before, you're going to interview a sales manager, sales director, CEO, founder, really depends. And some companies will spend maybe 1 to 2 hours for the second interview, right? And you just meet a few people, 30 minutes each, and that's it. Some will go longer, whether it's like 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours, right? And I know for me specifically, when I applied for certain jobs, I remember being, interviewing literally for 4 hours. I would get there in the morning at like 9 a.m. and then I would leave after lunch. So some interviews are extremely lengthy. It really just depends on, how seriously the company takes culture fit, because that's what they're really looking for to get a good gauge on your personality and see whether or not they should hire you. So don't be intimidated by these long interviews. It's just part of the process if you're applying for usually like higher tier jobs. Usually the ones where it's shorter interviews, they're kind of, they're not as picky and they're just trying to hire as many, decent quality people as they can. But the ones that, have a lot of money and they have a brand and, a lot of people are applying, they take their time with it. How it works is the person who screened you on the first interview, in a way, they kind of are your champion because they're selling you to the rest of their team. They're saying like, hey, this guy's great. I'm going to bring him in and you can all meet him, right? So they're your champion. So you want to make sure you have a good relationship with whoever the first person was on the first call, because they're going to be your point of contact and they're going to sell you essentially to get that job. So your goal in the second interview is to get everyone else to like you, right? And so that's the whole point of the interview process. You meet like the director of sales or you meet the founder and things like that. You want to get them to like you as a person and to hire you and show them that you're capable of doing a good job. And people who are interviewing you in this process are thinking, do I like this person and what would it be like to work with them on a daily basis? Okay, so key question that they're thinking all the time. So you want to make sure you have a good answer to that. And in the second interview, you're basically going to follow the same interview process you went through in interview number 1 with each person, right? So in the second interview, you might be interviewing with one person at a time, or they might have 3 people in a room and they're all interviewing you. Either way, they're really just taking turns asking you questions. It's the same process, right? Literally the same thing you did in interview number 1. It's just with different people on the team. And, but this time, the only difference is you might have to prepare some mock cold calls or mock presentations. And I've done this before where they're like, okay, Patrick, whatever it is you're selling at your past job, we want you to give a presentation on how you sell on this new job. And so I just did a presentation and they liked it and that's it, right? Or they might do a mock cold call and they'll be like ring, 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 and then you pretend to do a cold call. So if you're cold calling and they want you to prepare a situation where you are selling their product, of course you have to prepare quite a bit because you're not familiar with selling their product and service, right? And that's what they want to see sometimes. So you want to make sure you prepare ahead of time, you prepare your cold calls, you know every line, that you don't need a script in front of you, and that's how it goes. Now, the thing is, especially for entry-level jobs, if you do not have the technical selling skills they're looking for, especially if, let's say, it's a sales and business development role, you want to focus all your energy on your potential to learn, okay? Because you have to just admit, like, you don't have all the sales experience, so you focus on, you can learn it on the job. So sales itself is not complicated. Most people who spend enough time in the field can learn how to sell, even if they don't have any sales experience, even if they're not a total natural with people. It is a learned skill many people can learn. So you need to show them that it's worth it for them to take a risk and invest in you to hire you, because you will work hard to figure it out and learn whatever it is you need to learn. That's the main lesson you need to drive home if you don't have any sales experience. you have to recognize that yes, they are taking a risk on you, but the reward that they get is they like you as a person. They would see themselves working with you, and they would want to spend time, resources to coach you to become a good salesperson because they want you to stay at the company for a long time. And these companies, they are willing to invest in young talent, or it doesn't even have to be young, but like fresh talent who's willing to work hard, because if you work hard and you do the thing that you're supposed to do, you're going to make them way more money than they pay you. And it's hard to find good salespeople that fit. So that's why they're willing to invest. But you have to make sure that you are a worthwhile investment. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for them. And during this interview process, you go through the questions. You basically the same thing as interview number one. Tell them your beliefs, your past experience, or if you don't have any past experience, your relevant experience. And to close out the interview, again, you want to ask them if there are any. You want to first understand like what is the next step of the interview process. Are they just going to give you the offer, or is there something else you need to do? And then you ask them, based on everything we talked about, is there any reason for why I wouldn't be a good fit for this company, or why they wouldn't hire you? Whatever the case is, and if they have a reason for why they're not going to hire you, that's objection handling, right? So they say, oh, we really like you as a person, but XYZ, you don't have enough sales experience. We're not sure if you can learn on the job, things like that, right? So you want to make sure you handle those objections. And again, the only way you're going to get these if you ask these bold questions. Now, if they don't have any reasons for why they wouldn't hire you, ask them what the next step is. So you say like, okay, well, if there's no reason for why you want to hire me, when can I expect an offer, or when can I expect a decision? Can I get it by the end of the day, or is it that you need more time to think about it internally with your team? So if they are vague about this answer, right? If they're like, oh, okay, you're a good fit, so we're going to give you the offer by tomorrow or 2 days from now, you're going to get an answer. And then, okay, great. And if they are very vague with it, like, I don't know, we're going to have to talk about it, then things like that, then you want to just like vague is not good, because you want a yes or a no. That's okay, but you never want a maybe, right? So you want to be like, okay, well, based on our conversation so far, would you say you would be ready to give me a job offer right now? If, is that possible? And they might say, no, we're not ready. And you say, okay, like when would you be ready? Like, I'm not really sure what's going on, right? And you basically want to get an answer for them, either a yes or a no. And how you want to do that is you want to be respectful. You want to give them the respect, but at the same time, you need to know. So you can say something like, look, I'm really interested in this job, and it seems like, for me at least, it seems like a really good fit, and I really think I can do a good job for you. However, right now, it's a little vague on what that process is. So, I'm okay with, yes, you're going to give me a job offer. I'm okay with no, that I'm not a good fit for, whatever reason you may have, right? And we can talk about that. But if it's going to be a little vague and it's like a maybe, I think it's not the best use of everyone's time. Would you agree with that? And they're going to say, yeah, that makes sense. And so now they're forced to give you an actual time. So you want a yes, you want a no, but you never want a maybe. And whatever objection somebody has, you really need to get it out them, right? Because if they're not going to hire you, you need to know why, right? So that you can handle those objections and get the job. Or if they don't hire you anyways, for the next person or the next job interview you go to, you make sure you handle those objections ahead of time. And so with that said, that's pretty much how you are going to close out the second interview. Most sales processes or recruiting processes, they're going to usually have 2 interviews. Second one's going to be a lot longer. And that is pretty much how you handle that step. So that's it. That is it for the sales interview process. Best of luck, and I'll see you in the next section.